Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Okay, now I'm sure a lot of you have already seen the latest Frank Warren interview over there at IFL TV. If you haven't, I'll put it in the description box just so you can go give it a watch, so you know what it is I'm talking about in reference to this particular subject for this video. Frank Warren has stated that Tyson Fury will fight in March, but it will not be against Dillian Whyte, and he will not be defending his WBC World Heavyweight title. He'll be defending his Ring Magazine and Lineal, for those of you who put any stock into Lineal. Now, Frank Warren's argument is that, well, they can't negotiate with Dillian Whyte because they don't know what the purse split is. Eddie Hearn has said the same thing, which baffles me a little bit, because most fights are not based on percentage splits. You just put in an offer, a cash lump sum offer with a up end of whatever the pay-per-views do. Okay, that's pretty much what gets most fights done. So what's wrong with making Dillian Whyte an offer? Likewise, what's wrong with Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearn making an offer to Tyson Fury? But again, I understand they want to know exactly what the purse split should be in the case of it going to purse bid. Because they have about a week and a half or 2 weeks left or something like that of the negotiation period before it goes to purse bid. But it's going to be interesting that when this particular negotiation period is over and it should automatically go to a purse bid, how can it go to a purse bid if you don't know what the purse split is? That's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting as to what's going to happen with that one. Now, apparently, again, according to Frank Warren, I don't know this to be a fact or true or not true, I don't know, but the arbitration case with Dillian Whyte and the WBC, which would end up determining what the purse split will be, is not meant to be resolved until round about March time, end of February to early March. So, in which case, Tyson Fury, he's not going to be waiting around, he's going to go fight somebody else. Now, Frank Warren, he says that the argument that they have, where they believe Dillian Whyte should have around about 20%, Dillian Whyte and his team believe they should have 45%, is based on recent earnings. But again, what Frank Warren is not telling you, which is something that I will tell you, is that Tyson Fury's last two fights against Deontay Wilder have been in front of capacity crowds in Las Vegas with no restriction lockdowns. Okay? Dillian Whyte's last two fights, well, both been against Povetkin, and the first one had no crowd, it was in Eddie Hearn's back garden, and the second one in the rematch in Gibraltar was only allowed 500 people in the arena. So of course it's going to be a huge difference in earnings. That's not Dillian Whyte's fault, it's not Tyson Fury's fault either, okay? But it's unfair to gauge someone's earnings based on that. Now, don't get me wrong, if Dillian Whyte had a full capacity over his last couple of fights and he earned whatever it is that he lodged, then okay, fine, fair enough. But it's not. It's an unfair comparison. Very, very unfair comparison. Okay? But to say that Dillian Whyte only earned 300,000, that's just madness. In fact, the last time he earned 300,000 was when he fought, was it Brian Minto? That was before the Anthony Joshua fight, so I wouldn't have thought it was 300,000. But again, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that 300,000 was a minimum guarantee. Again, honestly, I don't know. This is not something that I've ever asked Dillian, to be fair. And I'm not going to ask him either, because it's none of my business what he earns. But what's going to happen with Tyson Fury? Now, an interesting question, I suppose, will be raised is, whoever it is that Tyson Fury fights next, again, is he allowed to go fight someone else? I don't know. Maybe Dillian Whyte has some kind of legal holding that could maybe stop Tyson Fury from fighting somebody else, whether he fights for the WBC belt or not. Again, we don't know. Some of us can pretend that we know, and I'm sure there'll be some YouTubers out there who pretend that they know. Truth is, we don't know. Okay, maybe Tyson Fury can go fight somebody else as long as the WBC belt is not on the line. In reality, that is the order. The WBC have ordered that the WBC belt get defended against the interim champion. Well, he's not going to fight the interim champion. He's going to go fight somebody else. Therefore, the belt's not on the line. So maybe he can go fight somebody else. But who's he going to fight? Based on the voluntaries that Tyson Fury has fought, like a Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin, I wouldn't expect it to be one of the best names around that's going to get people excited. I mean, hey, listen, I'd love to be wrong on that one. But what happens if Tyson Fury loses? I know it's a question that some Tyson Fury fans don't want posed to them. It's how dare you even suggest that Tyson Fury may actually lose? But hey, you never know. This is heavyweight boxing. What happens if he fights whoever it is that he fights and he loses? Sure, he'll lose the Ring magazine, of course. But what happens with the WBC belt? Would he be able to keep it? I doubt it. That's not the kind of thing that usually happens. I mean, it can happen if a fighter moves up or down a weight division to go fight for a world title. Then they can come back afterwards, even if they lose, and keep the world title. Not all the time. Of course, it didn't happen with Rigondeaux when he fought Lomachenko. But it can happen. It can happen. But Tyson Fury's not moving up or down a weight division. He's staying heavyweight. So if he loses, what happens with the WBC belt? What happens? Even though it wasn't on the line. Obviously, his opponent, whoever beat Tyson Fury, beats him, won't become WBC World Heavyweight Champion. But what happens with WBC belt? That's going to be very interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. But anyway, I mean, would the WBC be okay with Tyson Fury going to fight somebody else and not have their WBC belt on the line? They want their sanction fees. So maybe if Fury did that, they'll just go, you know what? You go do what you're going to do. For now, we're going to strip you off the WBC belt. We're going to make you champion in recess, maybe even franchise champion. Dillian Whyte, here's your belt. At some point, when Tyson Fury's ready, you two are going to have a fight. Would it go down that way? Who knows? Anyway, that's my thoughts in this whole situation. Of course, you drop me yours. It's a bit complicated, isn't it? It is complicated. I mean, usually boxing is pretty straightforward. You can see some underhanded moves once in a while, but this one's quite difficult. Some people may say, well, Dillian Whyte, he should just drop the case. What, just drop the case and what? Get stiffed on the card? Get stiffed on the split? No, he's going through this arbitration because he believes he deserves X amount of money. But as I said before, it's unfair to compare their earnings when Dillian Whyte's last two fights has had a total capacity of 500 people. Not because people don't want to watch him fight, not at all. It's because that's all he was allowed due to the restrictions. People may say, oh, well, he could have fought Otto Wallin, yada, yada. Okay, but he got injured. Like it or don't like it, that's what happened. Tyson Fury's last two fights have been for the WBC World Heavyweight titles. Advertised right the way across ESPN and Fox Sports and BT Sport. Very unfair to compare those kind of situations. But, I mean, if you was to take Wilder and Fury, their particular fights, out of the equation, how much did Fury make against Wallin? How much did he make against Tom Schwartz? That'd be interesting. Do the comparisons that way. Either way, Dillian is interim champion. The rules state he's entitled to 45%, unless there is a substantial reason that he should not. We'll have to wait and find out exactly what's going to happen with the arbitration. Maybe they could speed it up a bit. I don't know. Very complicated. Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.